Hello children, Ayanch Online Classes welcomes you to an interesting session. Hope everyone is doing well. Ayanch Online Classes is here to help you in your study process during the pandemic of Corona where everything has got digitalized and so is your studies. We will be providing you with many interesting lectures for all of your subjects as well will be providing you with all the study material which is needed. Today we are going to learn an English poem from the book First Flight, that is Dust of Snow, which has been written by Robert Frost. Now before we begin with the poem, let's take an introduction of the poet. Robert Lee Frost. Robert Lee Frost was born on March 26, 1874 in San Francisco, US. He passed away on January 29, 1963 at the age of 88 at Boston, US. He was an American poet and by occupation he was a poet and a playwright. He has his notable work as A Boy's Will north of Boston. He was known for his realistic depictions of the rural life. In a very beautiful manner, he used to describe the life in rural areas. He was honored frequently during his lifetime, and he is the only poet who has received Pulitzer Prizes for poetry. Now, such a great and famed poet has written the poem Dust of Stone. Now, after seeing the introduction of the poet, let's take an introduction of the poem too. Now, the poem Dust of Snow. It is a simple poem which is composed or which is comprising of just 8 lines, which these 8 lines are divided into 2 stanzas. That is, your each stanza is of 4 lines. Now children, it doesn't mean that if the poem is of 8 lines, it won't carry a meaning. Yeah. Even though if the poem is of 8 lines, then too the poem is going to be very meaningful. Now, in each of the stanza, there has been a simple rhyme scheme which is AB, AB. That is, every alternate line is going to have a same rhyme scheme. Okay, like every first and third line will be having the rhyming word same, and every second and fourth line is going to have the rhyming word same. Then even though Dust of Snow has a very simple structure, it is going to be very meaningful. Now children, see, when you look at the title of the poem, it is as Dust of Snow. Now snow related to snow, we have heard it as like snowflakes or snowfall, but never we have been heard of dust of snow. Dust as like dust particles we have experienced in the air whenever there is a stormy climate. Okay, like that dust we are aware of. Now what is this dust of snow? Now dust of snow is the tiniest particle of snow which is ever accumulated onto the objects which are available in open area when there is a snowfall. Okay, so that tiniest particle of dust of snow is considered here as dust of snow. Now let's see this tiniest member, that is the dust of snow, what role it is playing into the poem, that such a beautiful poem has been arranged by the poet. Let's have a look. The way a crow shook down on me, the dust of snow from a hemlock tree. Now, here is our first stanza. What it says, the way a crow shook down on me. That is, when the crow made a movement on a which was sitting on a hemlock tree through where the poet was passing. When the crow did the movement, there was the movement on the branches and the dust of snow or the snow which was accumulated on the branches of the tree that slips off the branch and falls on the poet's body. Now children, hemlock tree, a new name again. Now hemlock is nothing but a coniferous tree. Now coniferous trees are like which are having a pointed apex. and which are specially found into the snow-cladded areas where there is continuous snowfalls. God has provided them with a structure. Why? Because when there is continuous snowfall, children, what happens? There are chances where the dust may get accumulated or the snow may get accumulated onto the plant surface, and it may cause rotting of the tree leaves, you can say, or the branches. And just to avoid that thing, what happens is when they are having a slippery arrangement, whatever dust is there or the snow is there, that gets slipped off instead of getting accumulated on the plant surface. So such trees are called as the conifers. Okay, and even this hemlock tree is one of the conifer. Now, but along with being a conifer, what is another speciality of this hemlock tree? Hemlock trees are poisonous. They are poisonous. They are harmful to human beings and other living creatures. So that is a hemlock tree which you are able to see in the image, the one which is having tapering or a pointed apex and slippery leaves. So as the poet passes, or as he is on the way and he is passing down a hemlock tree, the crow makes a movement which leads to the slipping of the snow which has been accumulated on the tree. So this has been mentioned into the first stanza. Let's see what it conveys. Now, the poem begins out of nowhere. That is the location, that where exactly the poet is standing or where exactly the incident took place, that location is not still mentioned. Now, poet gives us no details about what happened that day or what was he doing in the snow. Like the reason why he was there, like he was going off to the market, he was returning back to home, the reason why he was on the track or why he was on that path, that reason has been not mentioned. What he was doing exactly in that snow cladded region. Then see children, from the first stanza what did we understand? We understood that the poem was standing under a hemlock tree. We got his position. Where this poet was, he was passing close to the hemlock tree. Then what next? Then when the poet was passing through the hemlock tree or close to the hemlock tree, the crow which was sitting on the hemlock tree, he makes certain movement. And because of that movement, what happens is the dust which was accumulated on the tree, that gets slipped off the branch and it falls on the poet's body. Then when the crow made some movement, the snow went down on the poet's shoulder. Now see children, the movement of the crow, again it is not specified. Okay, what exactly movement the crow has done, that is not specified. So these are the things which we got it clear from the first stanza. Now let's see what the second stanza conveys us. Has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had rued. Now, rude. Rude is like something which is about to spoil, like that is nothing but rude, or which is in a confused state, you can say. Now, what poet says that in the first stanza, as like we learned, the dust particle or the particle of snow has slipped off the tree and it has got accumulated or fallen on the poet's body. And after that, what are the changes what the poet experienced? Now see, he says that the touch of the dust of snow has given his heart a change of mood. His mood has changed. It has turned now bright. He is in a good mood now. Then he is saying that the touch of the dust of snow has saved his remaining day from getting spoiled, or whatever bad phase he was going through, that has been now turned into a good mood, or you can say a good one, because of the touch of the you can say dust of snow. Okay, this is conveyed by Robert Frost through his poem. Now let's see what is the second stanza conveying us. In the second stanza, the poet says that this small incident made his mood lighter. Okay, when the dust particle or the snow particle has touched him, his mood, whatever bad mood or like bad thoughts, the negativity, whichever it was surrounding him, that has vanished as soon as the dust particle or the snow particle has touched him. His bad mood has vanished now, and he is extremely lighten up. His mood has lightened up. He is looking positively into the surrounding. Then through the words of the poet, we can understand that the poet was having a bad day. Okay, see, children, he didn't say it openly that he was going through certain bad thing or bad mood. But when he says that my remaining day has saved from getting spoiled. So what does it shows that before the dust of snow has touched him, he was passing or he was having a bad phase. He was not in a good state of mind. And as soon as the snow particle has touched him, he has lightened up. His day has turned out to be good. He says that the touch of that particular snow particle has turned his day bright, you can say, positive, you can say, or whatever the remaining day has is left, it is going to be good for him. Then, and the way the crow shook the snow to the poet's body made his day. Like, see, the small movement done by the crow, that he shook the branch and the snow particle has slipped off. So because of that small activity which has been done by the crow, that makes the poet's day. So this is conveyed into the second stanza. Now let's see the remaining part. Now, what actually is the message of the poem, or how can we summarize the poem? As like in the beginning we saw, it has been titled as Dust of Snow. Like, why it has been said it as like dust of snow? Why we didn't keep it as a touch of snow, you can say? Why did we say it as dust of snow? Or why might have the poet thought of to keep the title as dust of snow? Why? Because the poet wanted to convey the importance of the small things which are occurring around you. Like, always to be happy, there is no reason that there should be a major reason or a major thought behind your happiness. Like, even a tiniest object in your surrounding can turn your mood light, or it can make you happy. So that was the main theme, you can say, behind the poem. Now see, here in the poem, the poet is talking about the importance of small things. And in our lives, these small things can change the attitude of the people at a large level. In the poem, the poet writes about a crow who shakes off the snow dust. The poet wants the readers to learn from the crow and shake off all the miseries and sadness in the same way. He wants us to get rid of all the negativity which we have wrapped around us, and he wants to set us free from all the negative thoughts, and he wants to turn our lives, or he wants to turn our negative thoughts into the positive ones. So that is the again the theme or the main idea behind the poem, that he is conveying the importance of the small things into our lives. Then such small imagery which are present around us have a lot to teach us. These images can change the mood of the people as they did to the poet in the poem, and so the poet is suggesting that even we should be thoughtful towards the surrounding. Now, the hemlock tree or the crow, they are considered as a sign of negativity. Normally, people consider them negative. Why? Because crow is considered as a symbol of sadness, you can say. The hemlock tree is poisonous. But see, children, if there was no hemlock tree, there might have been no crow which was sitting on it. And if there was no crow, there might have been no movement of the branch, and the snow might have not slipped off, and it might have not touched the poet's body, and nor the poet might have been in a good mood. So instead of considering the things to be negative, you should try for looking out for the positive things around you. Definitely, whenever a person is there, he will be surrounded with all the things. It may be the positive or negative things, but on what you are concentrating, that decides your attitude. Exactly. So, whatever is present around you, it may be negative or positive. What you choose, that makes your attitude. So, instead of being sad, or instead of being depressed by the same thoughts, or instead of letting the bad things hold you down, the poet is telling us that you set yourself free, you set yourself free to the life. You let the bad and good things, take the experiments, do the experiments, and then you will understand the true meaning of the life. Now, this was the message of the poem, that even the small things have the major effect on a person's life. Now let's see the poetic devices which are used in the poem. Like firstly we will be talking about the rhyme scheme. The rhyme scheme used in the poem is of ABAB. That is, every alternate line is having the same rhyming word. Then let's talk about the next poetic device, that is enjambment. Now the continuation of a sentence without a pause beyond the end of a line, couplet or stanza is nothing but it is termed as an enjambment. Now children, if you people have observed it, like even in the poem has 8 lines and it has 2 stanzas, but if we go through it, what is happening, after no end of no line there has been any punctuation like full stop, comma, inverted commas, question mark, exclamatory. No punctuation has been used throughout the 8 lines. That is, the sentences are continued one after the another into the 2 stanzas. So that is nothing but enjambment, when there is no use of punctuations. Now example, the same I have explained. Both the 2 stanzas of the poem is a single sentence. See, if there is no punctuation, then it will be considered as a single sentence in 4 lines without any punctuation. So that is nothing but enjambment. Now let's talk about the next poetic device, which is an assonance or a vowel. Now it is the repetition of a vowel sound across a line of words. Now what are the vowels we all know regarding? We have 5 vowels, that is A, E, I, O and U. If there is a repeated use of this sound of the vowel into the same sentence, you can say that it is assonance or a vowel rhyme. Okay, example over here is shook down on me. The sound of O has been repeatedly used in the same sentence to give give that particular line a poetic effect. Okay, so that is nothing but an assonance or a you can say a vowel rhyme. Whenever, again I repeat, whenever you are using a vowel repeatedly into the same sentence, that is nothing but a assonance or vowel rhyme. Now let's see the next poetic device which has been used. Now alliteration. Alliteration is a figures of speech, as we all know. Now in the first part we saw about the vowels. Now when the remaining, like in a series of 26 alphabets, we have 5 vowels and we have 21 consonants. Now we spoke just now about the vowels. Now what about these consonants? Now whenever there is a repetition of the consonant sound into the same sentence, any of the 21 consonant, if its sound is repeated in the same sentence or in the same line, you can say that like it is termed as consonants also, or you can simply term it as an alliteration, as like it is the repetition of the same consonant sounds at the beginning of the words that are in close proximity to each other, like they should be close to each other, or you can say that they should be into the same sentence. That is nothing but the alliteration. When vowels are repeated, it is assonance, and when or vowel rhyme, and when the consonant sound is repeated, it is alliteration. Now example we have taken, has given my heart. Now the sound of H, which is a consonant, is repeated in the same line. So that is nothing but alliteration. Let's see, after the grammar part, let's see the highlights of the poem. What did it conveys, or what central ideas, themes it had. Now first point is what? There was a creation of gloomy mood in the beginning. When we started with the poem, there was a creation of gloomy mood. Gloomy is nothing but dark mood, or you can say a dark shade. Like there was a use of symbols like crow, you can say, hemlock tree, you can say, which are considered to be the negative symbols, which are considered as a symbol of negativity. And to create a gloomy mood, there has been a use of this crow and hemlock tree. Then see children, as like I said, never ever the word has been used like the poet was sad, the poet was in a not happy state. Those things are not directly expressed. To create the gloomy mood, they didn't express, the poet has not used the direct words which are conveying his state of mind. Instead, what he has done is he has used the nature symbols. And what are these nature symbols? That are nothing but the crow and hemlock tree. As I said, crow is the symbol of sadness, and hemlock tree, as it is poisonous, it is like you can say depicting the state of mind of the poet. Again, these are negative symbols, and indirectly the poet is creating a gloomy mood, you can say, or is expressing his state of mind to create the gloomy atmosphere. Then at the second stanza, when you come, there has been the central idea behind it is like a happiness or a idea of joy has expressed. And from where this joy or happiness is coming, it is coming from a tiniest thing, you can say, which like the tiniest, the smallest thing in the surrounding has made the poet happy, which is considered here as symbol of joy. And at the end, how the or what you can say, what is the conclusion? The negative thing, that is the activity of the crow, which is considered as negative, or the poisonous hemlock tree where the crow was sitting, those negativity have converted the poet's mood into positive, or it has made him light. Now, so what is conclusion? That the negativity has changed into positivity. So these are the things what the poet wanted to convey through his poem. Now see children, like what in short, if I want to summarize the thing, what is the poet's way of conveying? It is indirect way. He is not directly making an approach. He is not telling you to change your thoughts. He has shared his experience, that what did he experience through his travel, or through his way towards wherever he is going, what incident happened and how it changed his mood. So what he's trying to convey, that not every situation, bad situation, you have to get it like regretting for it. Instead of that, you can look at it into a positive way. You can take it as an opportunity. Now that is nothing but you should take every bad situation as a lesson. You should look towards it for a positive opportunity. So that is nothing but the central idea which is conveyed by the poet. Now once you replace your negative thoughts with the positive ones, you have positive results, says Willie Nelson. Yes, children, I hope everyone might have understood the poem and have enjoyed the session too. Team Ayanch looks forward to have you on board. Please visit our website, Ayanch Online Classes, for the detailed information, and kindly like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If any suggestion or query, please drop it into the comment section, or you can provide it through the Google Forms. We will be always here to clear out your difficulties. Thank you.